Training volume and training frequency. How much is too much? How much is not enough? And what is optimal for you? First off, let's define these terms. Training volume is the total amount of time, sets, and reps that you're putting in the gym. And training frequency is how often you're hitting and stressing body parts and what amount of recovery time are you allocating in between your training sessions to allow the tissue to heal and remodel. Now, on the low end, 3 training days a week can be really, really effective. This is a shock for a lot of people because I think we're just taught to believe we gotta train 5 days a week. It's gotta be for 90 minutes to 2 hours to really see results. That honestly is not necessary, especially as you get older where your recoverability tends to decline. Having more time between your training sessions is a great advantage to help you hit the muscle groups really hard and express good intensity and progressively overload those exercises and movements so you can actually start to see real results. Now, if you were gonna do that, I would definitely recommend spending those 3 days hitting the largest, biggest muscle groups in your body. Things like the legs, the chest, the back, pressing, pulling, hinging. Those are really where you're gonna get the biggest bang for your buck. Multi-joint, multi-muscle groups, a lot of good intensity, a lot of weight being lifted. Now you can do that by individually segmenting those body parts or muscle groups, or you can even do total body splits. Maybe you're doing squat-based movements with upper body pulling or hinge-based movements with upper body pressing. But as long as you're hitting it hard and you're touching those muscle groups each week, you're gonna see some good progress. And a lot of people love that because it's also a big stress relief. They have more time in their day, more time for their family, their work. So if you're super busy, that can be really effective for you. Now, the volume of training. This doesn't need to be a 2-hour long jam session. In fact, I would say as soon as you get north of an hour, you're typically playing a game of diminishing returns, especially with regard to your intensity. I recommend people aim to go 45 minutes to an hour with really good intensity. Don't lollygag, get yourself moving. A little bit less talky, a little more lifty. If you're hitting it hard and you're hitting it fast, not only are those sessions more fun, more energizing, but they're typically more effective. Now, on the high end, what would be the most amount of training? Usually 5 days a week is the most amount of training athletes can handle before they start operating in a recovery deficit. That's typically going to be the maximum recoverable volume if you're training hard and you're training intensely. That doesn't mean you can't go in and do like other lighter recovery training sessions, but in terms of breaking down muscle, doing strength training, or really trying to like push the weight and break down the tissue, that's going to be probably at the high end. And in terms of the volume, going upwards of 1.5 hours to 2 hours is really going to be the maximal limit before you just start to bonk, unless you're kind of mainlining Pop-Tarts and getting glucose in throughout the session. And even then, you're going to find yourself in a little bit of an energy deficit. You're going to want to make sure that, again, quality over quantity, hit it hard, hit it fast, and you can actually be your own laboratory with regard to this stuff because results are king. That's to be the determining factor for anyone. Not what you hear on the internet or what some study says, but tracking inputs against performance outputs to determine what is the best formula for you. And there's also not just the physical component, but the psychological component of not spending all of our time in the gym, being able to live a well-balanced life, giving ourselves time to de-stress or manage our workload and our responsibilities so that we can train hard consistently, because consistency is where you're going to see the greatest long-term results.